Hey everyone, and welcome back to All Things Victorian. Today we're going to talk about one of the last pieces of the underclothes that is worn by every woman, and that is the modesty petticoat. And the petticoat is really important because if you go back and there it is. If you go back and watch the foundation layers and you remember them bloomers or drawers that had the split in them? Well, the modesty petticoat was there in order to cover that area if the wind blew. The wind can blow and blow up your skirts, and that would have been exposed. So that's for the reason we wear the modesty petticoat. Now, after this layer, we talk about something else. So after the modesty petticoat, that is basically everything every woman will wear every single time. You will have your chemise, your corset, your stockings, your shoes, and your petticoat. So, depending on what persona you're going for, depends on this next layer. Now, if you're going for a more working class type, such as this dress and my persona, that would be all the underlay clothes you would wear. If you're going for like a nice day dress or a ball gown, the next layer I'm about to show you is what you would put on. Now, this contraption is actually called a cage crinoline, and I bought this one online, and it's not a very good reproduction. However, it is something for you guys to look at. And as you can see, the steel bones of the cage crinoline would hold a dress out, giving that bell shape that we see in all the pictures. The cage crinoline was actually a very freeing device. As you can see, it does bend, it does move. It was a very freeing device. Back in the 1850s, the large bell shape was actually given by multiple layers of petticoats, down to the floor starch petticoats, some up to 15 and 16 layers. So when the cage crinoline was invented, it actually freed many women and took away many of those layers. So we have the petticoat and we have the hoops and we're going for a nice day dress. What we'd put on next would be another petticoat over top the hoops. And on top of that, your dress and so on and so forth. Basically, all the underlayers that every person would wear. After that, you would go put your dress on and get ready for the day. Finish getting ready. So we're going to kind of change it up and go from what we'd put on after we put on a cage crinoline. Okay, everybody, as you can see here, I am in my underlayers. I do have my corset on, I have my chemise, my petticoat, my drawers, stockings, and shoes. I also have my cage crinoline on. So the next step in the layers, or the dressing process, I should say, would actually be yet another petticoat. And this one goes over my head and on top of the hoops. And the reason for this one is to hide the boning in the hoops from showing through the dress. So you would not see the ripples in the dress as you wear it. I can find mine. And sometimes you've got to bounce it. After this, I would put on my actual skirt. And this is my nice silk day dress. This would be kind of like my Sunday best. And after that, we have the blouse. The next step we've got is actually a set of undersleeves. Now, undersleeves was just that, just the sleeve made in a very similar way. And they would slide on your arm, end at your wrist, and protect your arm. Now, each person has their different style of undersleeves. Some people use elastic and some people use ties. It's a matter of preference, really. Historically, they would be tied at the top and the bottom in order to keep them on your arm. So we've got our undersleeves. What's our next step in a nice day dress? And that would be gloves. We'll always wear gloves. Gloves would be for such as a church or function. A nice set of gloves was always on hand. And gentlemen, next time you complain about your wife or girlfriend taking so long to get dressed, just be glad she didn't have to go through this rigmarole every day. Now, a lady was never to leave home without a shawl. They believed if you catch chill, you could get sick. So they always had some sort of light shawl, even in the summertime. And finally, last but not least, of course, the lady has to finish her outfit with a nice hat. And these are all stuck in by hat pins, so you're very careful when you put them on. And so this is how a lady would dress going to church. However, we're using the same foundation layers that we've been through this whole process. So the foundations will stay the same throughout what you're doing, except for the cage crinoline. The cage crinoline would only be if you was wearing a very nice dress, going to church, going to a social, tea or such. That I was wearing before, the blue dress, would be it's put on very similar. Same process. If I was going out on town, I would still put my hat on. I would still put gloves on. I simply would not put undersleeves on because its sleeves would come down to the wrist. But I would still put a hat or a bonnet on. I would still grab a shawl. It's the same process. As soon as you get done with your foundation layers, you would put your dress on. And we've went through all the steps and we've dressed and talked about all the layers that we need. And I believe that is everything I wanted to talk about today. So have a good week. Bye.